Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Joanne Smedley, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Cherie Thiers. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in the singing of the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry Gordon Loone. Henry Loone, who went by his middle name Gordon, was born on the 10th of January 1885, the third son born to Arthur and Keturah Loone of Scottsdale, Tasmania. There were 8 boys and 1 girl in the family. Gordon's father, described as a man of energy, started as a farmer, but ended up with interests in carting, mining, shopkeeping and sawmilling. He also took a keen interest in municipal affairs and eventually became a member of the Legislative Council in Tasmania, a position he held for 10 years. Henry's mother was a prominent member of the Methodist Church who worked tirelessly for the Country Women's Association. Gordon was educated at the local state school and spent a considerable time working for the Sydney Tramway Company before becoming a manager of a general storekeeping business. He was described as being of a splendid and able character, clean, living and upright. His quiet and unassuming manner won for him many friends and admirers, and he proved a son of whom many parents would be proud. Gordon was of a genial, optimistic disposition, ready for a joke with all and sundry, and full of banter and good nature. He was always thoughtful for others, took a keen interest in all sport, and was one of the best-known fellows in town. Gordon Loone enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in September 1915. He underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving overseas service in March 1916 with reinforcements to the Australian Army Medical Corps. Private Loone was first sent to Egypt, where he continued training in the desert until the AIF was transferred to France. He reached Marseille in June 1916, and he remained with the 4th Field Ambulance on the battlefields of the Western Front for the next 15 months. Private Gordon Loone served as a stretcher bearer during some of the fiercest battles fought by Australians on the Western Front, including the battles of Pozières and Mouquet Farm in 1916 and Bullecourt and the outpost villages early the following year. Later, they were moved north, where a major offensive was planned near the Belgian town of Ypres. In late September, the Australians took the Battle of Menin Road, and the men of the 4th Field Ambulance carried wounded from the field during the battle, as well as carrying supplies such as blankets, stretchers, water and food to the forward lines, while under heavy fire. After several days of this, Loone wrote a letter home saying, "We are standing to, ready to move at any minute for the front on a stretcher bearer job, so I'll write a few lines while we are waiting. I posted a field card home yesterday as I did not have time to write." Loone discussed the recent death of a friend from Scottsdale, writing, "And so poor Neville Hookway has paid the price. One good thing to know is that he was killed instantaneously." Loone finished his letter by writing, "Give my best wishes to all at home and abroad." It would be the last letter he would write. At some point on the 28th of September 1917, Private Gordon Loone was shot in the temple. He was taken to the 3rd Canadian Casualty Clearing Station near Poppinga, where he died shortly after arrival. Major Ferber of the 4th Field Ambulance wrote to Gordon's father to say, "I am writing to express my sympathy in your great loss. It was a tremendous shock to me, and I felt it very deeply, as Gordon has been very closely attached to me for upwards of 15 months, and I had conceived a great affection for his personality and a great admiration for his honesty, willingness and bravery." Ferber added, "He had been through many tight corners with me and had come through each ordeal with flying colours always. And it is there, under stress, that one learns to appreciate real men. Nothing, of course, can make up for your loss, but it must be some consolation to you to know that he died doing his duty in the bravest and most glorious work of stretcher bearing and bringing back to safety his wounded comrade soldiers. Private Gordon Loone was buried in the Lissenhoek military cemetery in Belgium, where he lies today under the simple epitaph, beloved son of the Honourable A.W. and K.A. Loone, Scottsdale, Tasmania. He was 33 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Henry Gordon Loone, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.